All right, good evening. It's a Governing Board Advisory Committee to review policies. Um, This is a call to the order, and welcome everybody for being here. And a motion to approve the agenda. Can I get a second, please?
I second.
A second. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. Moving on. Next agenda item is a call to the audience. Do we have anything for the call to the audience? Yeah. Okay, if there's nothing for the call to the audience. And then the next agenda item is discussion on the policies. And the last meeting on March 17th, we covered, we had an update on the AP meeting from Ms. Apodaca about um, parent concerns, reporting child abuse, JLDB, et cetera. And we talked very briefly about the policy Safe and Inclusive Schools. The part of our work is to kind of go over that because that's one of the policies that's in the agenda as well. We edited JICH, and the next steps was Adriana was going to go and edit details in JICH for the next meeting. And then JICG is possible for next thing up on the agenda item. So anybody want to start with anything in particular that is on their mind?
Nope.
Okie dokie. So I guess we can, do we want to move into the safe and inclusive schools policy first, or where do we want to start?
I don't know anything about the safe and inclusive, so if Katie's coming, I'd rather
Oh,
I'd rather wait till she came just so that she can explain it to all of us, if that's okay.
yeah, no, that's fine.
And
good.
then full transparency, did not get anywhere on that paragraph. So we'll have to do that one when we get back. But if we wanted to go down to like the second half, like the medical marijuana portion on JICH,
Okay.
because that's the only part that's left. So the first part feels grammatically weird.
And this is the one that's JICHR or just JIC?
JICH is where we were at. Um,
Oh, there it is.
refuse to enroll a student otherwise.
Got it.
So we could just like make it like a positive statement instead of a negative. So I'm gonna take it.
And you're looking at the medical marijuana one?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it looks like the rest of these comments are from Katie anyway. Are you talking about the reasonable belief one?
No, I'm still at the first paragraph. I'm just trying to change it.
Oh,
So
sorry.
weird. Student that is a medical marijuana card holder may enroll in school. Unless okay. I just replied to her. Because it kind I think she's come saying
Yeah.
that double negative is weird. Like we won't refuse you, which means we will just let you. So I just changed it like that. Does that work for everybody?
Student that is a medical marijuana card holder may enroll in school unless enrollment would cause the school to lose a monetary or licensing benefit under federal law or regulation. Yeah, I feel like that's cleaner.
Okay. I'm gonna. Okay, now I can't get it to.
My next comment is from Katie too. Student medical marijuana card holders subject to, without bias, the same code of conduct and disciplinary standards applicable to all district students.
I feel like the difference is like this is like, listen, we're not gonna like be angry with your kid for the dress code any more than we would another kid. We're up here. It's like, and also don't let them do marijuana on campus, right?
Right.
So I feel like, what if we used a student medical marijuana card holder is subject without bias the same code of conduct and disciplinary standards applicable to all students, and then we just put like a clause including um, not possessing or engaging, like basically bringing this down. Oops. Like that. So then you would get rid of this, but it was like all of the rules, and that includes not.
Right.
Is that what she means by redundant? Like it's redundant from the previous paragraph?
That's what I'm guessing. I can leave it.
I thought she meant it was redundant, like within the paragraph, and I was trying to figure out what she was referring to in, like it, like repeated itself in the same sentence.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Do you have a preference?
I think this sounds fine.
Okay. So we'll just leave it to her and make sure that's actually what she meant. I don't know why we crossed out under the influence. So this might just have to wait till Jay and Katie get here, because how we at Monte Vista have been doing reasonable belief and how we did it with Excellencia is like, if like witnesses can like link them, we found them with it. And then the way that we like kind of like back our understanding is we do a vitals check. And like it's not really like a drug test or anything, but it's like if their heart rate is elevated or we've had like kids' pupils were more dilated, then we would do that. So this is more of like out of curiosity, not necessarily we have to add, but like what are we saying is reasonable belief? Like, do we have clarity amongst all of us?
Is that where this would be defined? I feel like this could be like one of those things that you define someplace somewhere else.
Is there a regulation for this one too?
For GICH, I
Mhm.
believe so.
I mean, maybe it could go in the regulation, like that's part of the process of identifying reasonable belief. Hello. So that was my only wonder, is like, do we want that in here, and or is that what everybody's doing? Because I'm not actually sure what people are saying.
And I'm used to
Hello.
I'm used to the phrase reasonable suspicion, not belief. So that kind of threw me off there, but I don't know if there's a terminology.
Yeah.
Usually we try to triangulate, kind of a similar process. We try to have like at least three connecting pieces, like a witness, the vitals check, and then some other piece to corroborate the suspicion.
Okay, so you are doing a vitals check.
Yeah, but the vitals check, I don't know about your experiences with the vitals check, but the vitals check, we've been told by our nurse is not, it's not 100%.
No, it's not, but
So
it's like
you can't, well, she
trying to
advises you shouldn't do
decide
that.
how we're gonna, like in JICH with like the drugs thing, the reasonable belief. So I'm I don't know if it's necessarily like a question for policy or just like a question for practice, but I was saying like, what are we all saying is reasonable belief? And like, does that need to be in here? Because and then we were saying like, it's usually like, if the kid was seen with it, like we have a witness saying that they were using it, if we like found them with it, and then we always just automatically do like a vitals check. We don't use a vitals check to be the reasonable belief,
Yeah.
but it is like part of the like, this is how we like make our case if a kid is going to get suspended
Yeah.
with these components. And so, yeah, that's
Yeah,
where
I
we're at.
think honestly, reasonable belief and suspicion are pretty low standards, right?
Mhm.
And so I think those are all fine. And the only other thing that would come into play is, for like, if you have none of that evidence and you're just saying, that you think somebody is under the influence of something, then you would just need to be able to articulate what things made you believe that person was under the influence.
Okay.
Other than, I mean, vitals is one thing, but you don't know what the baselines are for that, and we aren't healthcare workers, so like,
Yeah.
it would be more like, that would be consistent with whatever drug also, it has to be like, specific to something, right?
Mm.
So you couldn't just say, oh, I think he's under the, I guess you could say even if it's anything, but I don't know, it's hard.
It's equally hard to investigate too.
Yeah. Those are the toughest cases because if you haven't seen anything, you just think somebody's hired wrong. And
Yeah. Okay.
use that information, but then also if you're suspending them, you know what I mean? Like,
I mean, usually we are not suspending based on the vitals check. It's usually like the parents are like, we've had a couple of kids who they like they ate a gummy and it caused them to really have like what I think was probably an anxiety attack, but they had a medical reaction to it. So like that was what we used for it. Yeah. Or like things like that. Like okay, that was more of just a question. There's really not anything we need to edit for this. And I don't know why we crossed out under the influence. Oh, maybe we crossed it out because you can't quite prove that they're necessarily under the influence.
Isn't that connected to the reasonable belief?
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't know why we crossed it out either. I feel like the way it's worded, it should be there.
Is it because it's talking about informing law enforcement? Would we only inform if they're possessing or distributing? Like, I'm
sorry, I'm opening
just trying to
it.
figure
You
out
said it was JICH.
Mm-hmm.
that very last. Like,
All right, you are in violation of the police.
The very last page, page 3 is what we're trying to figure out.
In the last
If
paragraph.
the district officials have a reasonable belief. Oh, because I said don't remember when we passed this law.
Yeah.
Student may be under the influence in the possession of or distributing. Okay, so the Arizona Medical Marijuana Act, says they can't use or possess on school campuses. Maybe I crossed it out because is there anything that says that you can't, because
If you like lets you do it in the morning and then
like, what are you talking about, metabolites here?
mm-hmm.
And who's to say you're under the influence?
Yeah.
And it's the same argument you made for a marijuana DUI. If you're like an avid smoker and they pull your blood, you're gonna have tons of THC in your system. Does that mean you're living? I don't know. So maybe that's, I just don't remember. I don't even remember us having a conversation about this.
I don't
Or
either.
strike through that.
I don't either.
Because we've never looked at this before. Right?
Mm-mm.
So maybe there's just a random strike through.
I'd assume it was a random strike through.
Maybe somebody went strike through crazy.
That's the only thing I can think of is that it'd be pretty much impossible to determine.
Or maybe it was because we wouldn't be able to determine like you were under the influence, then that wouldn't be a time that we would call the police. But if you were in possession or distributing.
Yeah.
So I think it's actually okay to take it out under the influence personally.
Yeah, and let me just make sure that doesn't conflict. sorry, sometimes the only time I can work out is like right at 4 o'clock, so.
Work-life balance.
Guess I could wake up with the crack of dawn. It's not happening. It's not happening. I'm just being real. I do have coworkers who are up at 4 AM working out, and I'm just like, one of them has 3 kids, and I'm just like, I don't, there's just. Maybe when my kids are older, I don't, and they're getting themselves to school. But now I'm still like, we're eating breakfast. I have to give them instructions every 2 seconds. Okay. 2.5 hours.
So if we cross out under the influence, isn't that, cross out that whole first part then? Because otherwise it just says if district officials have a reasonable belief a student may be, in possession of distributing medical marijuana. Okay. Maybe we crossed it out because that we were just focusing specifically on
Oh,
possession and
Maybe
distribution.
this is it, because under 36/2802, which is Arizona Medical Marijuana Act limitation. It says this chapter does not authorize any person to engage in and does not prevent the imposition of civil or criminal penalties for engaging in the following conduct. A is something that doesn't matter. B is possessing or engaging in the medical use of marijuana, 1, on a school bus, 2, on the grounds of preschool, primary, or secondary school. So I'm wondering, that's for possessing or engaging in the use of. And then it says, smoking marijuana in any public place or whatever. So I'm assuming that because it's not kind of outlined here, like under the influence of it, probably why it's still in there. Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Me too.
Can I add something just because I noticed that James said it was different than what's linked on the policy?
Yeah,
And that first paragraph, I don't know why it's different.
that happened
this
last week
one.
too. Did I tell you about that last? Oh, you weren't here. This is what, when you go to our website right now, you know how when you used to go on board docs from our website, like public facing, and you just click through, it used to have like a Creighton logo, because every school board, when you go through their website or school district, it has their district logo. When you go on ours now from our website, it shows the ASBA logo on the left. So I wonder if they don't have our specific district ones up or what happened to them. Because look, it takes me to one that just has ASBA logo in the top left-hand corner. Even though it says Creighton Elementary School on the left, I just don't understand, because last week there was another one we were looking at where there was an entire paragraph that was in the one that I copy and pasted from before, and it wasn't on there anymore. And it was very confusing.
I don't know what happened because, at a certain point. we were
Yeah,
Not part of it and then it became part of it.
yeah.
But I noticed that the date though is the same, the
Yeah.
December 13th. So I went and added the paragraph that's on the one.
Yeah, I thought it was strange, and I was like, there's no way I would just make it up and put it in there.
I mean, I just put it in there.
Okay.
And so, I'm gonna delete the one.
You're the boss, Hilda.
On there.
Okay.
Because these are our documents, they're not really.
Where's Jay at?
They had a CEA meeting before them.
Oh.
They usually meet on Tuesdays. Okay. Once a month.
Are you okay?
That was a little brother at school today.
Wow.
It shows you on water and
Look at
it's
the sprinkles
supposed to be.
display.
I
know,
know,
right?
right? I think it's hilarious. But I kind of messed it up.
It's okay.
Oh my God.
Okay. more information.
Which one of these is not like the other one? What is ADR? Oh. I thought it was, thought it was an acronym. I didn't see the I. I was like, what? Did I miss an acronym?
No, I was just not myself. What exactly was in the
Well, I mean, according to the note, and we don't have to go in this order, but
There is an R to
yeah, they have the R and an E, if I'm not mistaken.
it. Yeah.
Is that place closed?
Yeah, it's closed for a long time now. I think Frank's Pizza
Oh,
on Danceville.
I've not been there in a while. I guess that would explain it.
Yeah, it closed a long time ago. Because they used to always,
Was it on 40th?
no, on 32nd in Indian school, in that by the Maronis.
Yeah, I used to
Oh,
get,
There's a bunch of kids that I went to school with work there, and they would always give us pizza at Camelback from Frank's.
we'd always get pizza at Kennedy School too. I like Red Devil.
Um, I do like that double.
All right, so where are we at now?
Yeah, where are we?
Can you go up even 2 comments? So go to the bottom. Okay, so the first comment we had, this feels grammatically weird. We just changed it to like, we basically took out what kind of felt like the double-sided. I'm not in. But if you look at the smaller font and it's highlighted, see if that fits.
There it is.
Senior man.
Oh, okay, yeah. That sounds way better.
Okay. So then
Join the party.
that one, and then the next one. We did think it seemed redundant, so we basically just combined them together, so it was like, it starts with the like, you have to follow our rules, including not using marijuana on campus.
Yeah.
So if you're good with that, then we can.
Yeah, that works.
And then. This one's done. But I almost feel like it'd be good to go ahead and go back to the like.
The safe schools and what is it called? Whatever the thing that came from the governing board.
Oh,
Safe
yeah.
and inclusive schools. Maybe if we run through
Look at
that.
real quick. Now, did we put one, oh, here. policy
And I
maybe.
did put the PDF.
It's in there, do you see it?
Mhm.
Word doc.
Is that in the drive?
It's called-
Mhm.
Oh, I
it's
see.
Policy JB.
Got it.
So my concern was that the policy's name is safe and inclusive school environment. And while it talks about immigration, it seems like just from the title, it's not. The title I felt like should be more like focused on immigration, if this is what it's gonna be limited to, because it talks about, oh, number 1 under in furtherance of this policy. Well, it says immigration enforcement activities, hold on. There's something about law, oh, down further, sorry, subsection B, response to law enforcement on campus. Because we had just gone over this. Staff will direct all requests for access to information to the designated district safety officer or legal counsel. DSO or legal counsel will review and request and determine compliance with district policies and legal requirements. Staff will not independently disclose student information or permit access without prior approval. So like, I get that this, when read together, it's all dealing with immigration, but it doesn't, the title doesn't indicate that, and then when you get to this subsection, that like conflicts with everything you just wrote in that other thing about like what happens when you pass one. So, and I would hate for somebody to have to go through all of this for something that's a non-immigration thing. You know,
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
like
took,
we're calling an attorney every time or whatever.
well, and I took the liberty of asking our attorney
Yeah,
if it would make a difference if we named the policy something specific to immigration,
yeah,
and she seemed to feel like that was perfectly.
okay.
So, it was, one of the wonderings you have is, did they name it this for a specific reason? Because of some issue that they were concerned about, but she said she couldn't
Think
come
of
up with
one.
any reason.
Okay.
Okay, cool. Yeah, it does. Safe and inclusive. I get it. It does make it safer, but it is like, this is just like an immigration policy. Like, let's just call it what it is.
So I guess we're okay then with just saying, you guys are okay with my concern and saying that maybe we should just change the title to be more immigration focused.
I think so. And then could it be,
Do you see any other, that was the other thing was, there's anything else in here that I'm missing that you think would also conflict with something else you're already doing? Or,
I have to look at it again. So would it fall under like student rights and responsibilities? Would it just be like a JI?
it's gonna be JB.
So it'll be a totally different one. Okay.
Yeah, I think so. Although I thought we already have a JB.
That's what I would
Equal
assume.
Education opportunities, so I don't know. That is a good question. Hey, Tilda, you know how it says policy JB? Is that gonna change? Cause there's already, yeah, it's listed in the cross-reference on the end, JB, educational, equal educational.
Just to name the JD, because we already have a JD.
What's confusing? I
She's
don't,
the one who gave it the JD, right?
yeah. But here's what I'm wondering.
I think it just falls
Is
under
the-
that.
Was the cross-reference even right? Are we sure we have a JV?
Yeah, it's education.
But
I mean, it basically is just like, we're not gonna discriminate based on anything. That's all it says. So I
is
wonder.
that what it says?
Yeah, it's like,
So that would make
it's
sense.
two
why this-
paragraphs. It goes under there for
Yeah,
sure.
chances are this is probably like, if there isn't already a JBA, maybe it's JBA or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I think it would be,
Yeah.
that's what
And
I
we
was
can double
thinking.
check. We can ask her.
Yeah, there isn't a JBA, there's just a, it goes to JC.
Yeah, so we should be able to use JBA.
Okay. And then,
It would make sense for it to be next to them. Non-discrimination.
What's SISE?
Safe and inclusive school.
Oh.
environment.
You have a lot of acronyms and.
It's the name of the document.
I was like, what is that? Thanks, Evan.
I got you.
so the only other thing I'm wondering is, because it's gonna be it's gonna be like 3 different categories now of people coming on campus, like police officers for police officer business, DCS, and now immigration officers. So that part makes sense. each of them have their own like request to interview. So that would be like my only follow-up. What would be, we basically would be just telling them no, ultimately. Like they'd come back, but we would probably need to consider like, would they use the same form as the officers would use? And then just like cross-reference that would be my only
Yeah, I
thing.
think so. Maybe cross-reference, yeah, the form. So
That would-
there's consistency.
Yeah, that would make more sense. with consistency. And the problem with the DCS form we ran into was what they were willing to work with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I think if we just change the name. Are we deciding the name now?
We can. Might as well come back with a suggestion, I guess.
Yeah.
And you all are creative.
We were creative in August for sure. I don't know about April.
So it's been beat.
Yeah.
So what do we, what is it, what's our, our vision for having it represent what's in the policy itself, then if we're gonna change it?
No. Do you have any thoughts, Jeff?
Oh, it looks like it's an immigration enforcement law. That's not a really fun name.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at I was looking for at which point scrolling down through the policy does it make sense to me what it's gonna tell me about? And it's in furtherance of this policy, the district shall not permit immigration enforcement activities on school property without a valid judicial warrant. So it's really, everything in here has to do with immigration enforcement and student,
Yeah.
privacy rights and immigration status. So
Could call it the Student Safety and Privacy Protection Policy.
Can you tell us the acronym for that?
I couldn't even figure it out before.
that says PPP.
Although that is something to take into consideration. You don't want some inappropriate acronym because somebody will find it, trust me.
I veered off to a different thought that I'm going to share now. Would we need to go into JB and add immigration status? Because it does say they'll not not abridge or be impaired because of race. And then there does say national origin. Does that count for immigration status? So then I'm wondering maybe this one, because ultimately this is national origin. So maybe this should be just like the protection of students outside national, like use the word national origin
Yeah.
would make
to
sense.
tie it together, yeah. Do we have another? Let's see.
Let me look and see.
Could be interactions with immigration enforcement officials and student privacy. That seems too long. Or what about?
I think just like equal educational opportunities for students of differing national origin.
Okay.
Because I feel like that'll cover it. And then everybody would need to know, like, we're talking about immigration. Because my worry is if it's just like immigration, we're getting into that like scan through. You know what I mean? Like this is not. I know it's mostly about that, but if we did something like that instead.
Yeah, I think, maybe some, I think using the word national origin is very good ties to the original. So,
So you're trying to avoid the word immigration? Is that what you're saying?
I'm not necessarily trying to avoid it, but I also feel like it's such a hot button word that this isn't about like their immigration status and like our dealing with immigration people as much as like your immigration status does not matter to us as a learning institution. And so if we
And based on the laws.
How about- well, we could do, I was gonna say something about like national origin protections or something like that. I don't know.
I mean, we could keep it basic too and just say like protecting the rights of all students.
Well, it opens with protect the rights and safety of all students. So.
And just avoid it altogether.
I think though that goes back to what you were saying that if we
Yeah.
end up doing that then we're
Still a problem.
because this doesn't pertain to like all students, honestly.
We could just- I guess we- I'm sorry, I just saw the title, unsafe school choice. I was looking for the other ones and I was like, what does that even mean? But, anyway,
That is one of the challenges.
I'm sorry, I didn't know that there is a school, you can get a label of a persistently dangerous school.
And that-
That's sad and pathetic, is that,
Okay. Anyway, next, maybe we can just call it national origin protections. Or something. Just easy. Okay.
Yeah,
And you said that that's included, where's national origin at?
So if you go to
To
the
the top of the original JD.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
and then we could just label this JBA.
I'm gonna add a word document here, but it's gonna look a little.
okay,
Okay.
got it.
National origin.
Edit and stuff. Thank you, Hilda.
I don't think I've heard that phrase before. National origin.
Your history teacher did you wrong then. Did you dirty over in your middle school?
Stop making comments. I'm getting picked on. Feeling triggered.
It doesn't look like there's any actual schools listed as persistent.
Where does that come from? Persistently dangerous.
It's apparently from the School Choice Act from 2015. The Every Student Succeeds Act. 2015.
How do you define persistently dangerous?
It is a persistently dangerous school. The school is referring violent and or dangerous crime that continues over time. It does not church-based crime prevention program. Safety. The state with a representative sample of local educational agencies must determine which schools are persistent.
they do it based on, there's a report that was created of the safe, easy safe report. And
Oh, yeah.
we,
Oh,
that's where there's that upflow of data, why, like there's certain, even though we might disagree with the language, there's certain specific language to what, you know. A kid has a pocket knife.
yeah.
It doesn't get put in the system as pocket knife that has like blade of less than so many inches or
Mm.
more than so many.
Yeah.
All of that's tied back to AC safe. So all that reporting flows up so that way they can determine if you're a persistent unsafe school.
Interesting.
Anyway, sorry. Didn't know this was-
Amazing.
Okay.
All right. So what are we calling it?
National origin
National
protection.
origin protections. And then we wanted to add a provision about the form.
So that's the full thing, national origin protections policy? Or is there more to it?
Call it policy, yeah.
Oh, just-
natural.
It's already a policy.
And then.
Extra. That's the person that
Stretch
does it.
law. I thought the kids' bikes were on the side of it.
Good job.
Is that all you wanted us to look at with that policy, or is there other aspects of it?
I think the only thing was, the one concern I had, and then making sure there wasn't anything that was an unknown to me, that you all could look at it and say, as two VPs and one, or APs and one who used to be, in this area, like what you might see, if there's something I'm not aware of that could be conflicting with stuff you already do.
I don't know what the forms are called. If you go down, oh, let me put page numbers really quick. I think it's page 2, but as I try to do page numbers. Yeah, page 2, like right here. I feel like this is the only thing that we would need to add is just like, if determined that law enforcement should be provided access to students, administration will require the completion of forms, and then whatever the forms are, I can't remember what offhand what they are. And then so we'll probably need to put JIH. Okay, so it's already in the cross-reference stuff. JIH. Wait, E. I don't think there's actually more than one. I think EA. Let's see, wait, quick.
Mr. Mann, what kind of training do we
EC,
offer
I
for
lied.
staff training and awareness of this policy? It's under C1.
Need to, so what we did this year, is we had people visit like various meetings, and walk through it with people. This policy didn't exist, but the other documents that we produced were distributed. So this will require probably it being added to the beginning of the year, or I always call it an orientation, things we can put board and pathogen, all those kinds of things. So they'll have to build it into that. I don't remember what the product's called. It's that one we log into. and
Yeah,
do all
the vector training.
That's what it is.
Yeah.
Okay. Are you on JICR? CHR? Is that what you were asking?
I'm still on the one that she was asking is the JV.
Mhm.
Because that was in that policy. Formerly known as safe and inclusive school environments.
Can we like comment Russell for this? Because so if somebody knows that it needs to be added to the vector trainings.
Yeah, it's not a bad thing.
Okay.
Maybe also. Thank you. That's usually where the loop doesn't close.
All right, do we want to move on or?
I think that's fine. We have another meeting scheduled the 14th. Okay, so
Yeah, 14th.
because I think at like maybe 6 to 6:15 we should stop and start deciding like what's going to be shared in the governing board council. I'm sorry, the community council presentation. But I feel like we could get JICHR done in like that amount of time.
Okie dokie.
You have the first comment. Do you want to share what you were asking?
I'm sorry, where?
You have the first comment in the JICHR.
ACHR.
So do you want to kind of share your thoughts so that we can get started?
I like the
Geesh, I wrote that in December. Um, I don't remember why. Are all these procedures? Oh, yeah, so it's just a question.
Oh, because the title says drug abuse prevention.
Right,
Okay, I get it now.
yeah,
So the title's drug abuse prevention, but then it's just like all about what to do on the, at the tail
right.
end.
So it seems kind of,
Mislabeled.
yeah, mislabeled. That's a good way of putting it.
Well,
Yeah, because I didn't see anything in there that was prevention. And I'm not implying that there should be something about
Yeah, yeah.
prevention.
it just seems like a mis-
Yep.
You're done, honey, you wanna create a comprehensive curriculum for drug abuse prevention, James? I think that's what I'm hearing.
That is not, that is not what you're hearing at all.
James wants to bring back the bear program.
That is not.
Dog shit.
He
That is-
actually wants to bring scrub.
That is not what I'm implying at all.
It can be in the costume, James.
I would be happy with calling it drug abuse consequences.
How about drug abuse enforcement?
Yeah, I
Here
think
we
that
go.
makes sense.
Good enough.
Okay. Let me track changing.
Um, this was more, again, a question for like, what's everybody doing? Because we count sharing as distributing, but we very rarely can actually prove that they're selling it. They're mostly sharing. So I was just like wondering, do we want to have something like an elevation of consequences if they're selling it? I think that's what because I put sharing versus selling. So I'm guessing I wanted to see, do we want to say something different?
Okay, a person who has determined to be involved in distribution. So here's the thing, under the law, you could be prosecuted equally for selling and transferring, which is sharing. in the statute language.
Okay.
So transfer and sell are in the same statute and you would be prosecuted equally. So I think we could make a distinction here at our district, but they're still gonna make you report it the same way.
I'm okay with that too. I just
Yeah.
want to make sure, because I think that like I'm making guesses, but it's like if you're brand new, like when I hear distribution, at least like when I first started, I was like a drug ring, like the children are meeting in the alleys, but like actually, it's like a real big thing, and they meet in the
Canal.
but so I think like if we could put like distribution and like I feel like
Yeah,
we
It
should.
feels like less severe to me if I just give you some than if I'm asking you. to
But
pay
it is,
for it.
but it is the same. Yeah.
So, yeah, and interesting, in section 1, it says, when it's risen from a student involved in the distribution or sale of drugs, law enforcement shall and a student is, so then they don't include that in number 2. So that distinction.
Oh, so maybe it already was they made it into a distinction where like this was like you were selling it. Okay, now you're just distributing it. Like this is the sharing one, 2 is sharing and 1 is.
And shall be subject to suspension or expulsion. Yeah, that's strange.
I always thought that was practice, that there was a delineation between, I never really understood like sharing, because to me,
That one
sharing
has them
is you're,
separated. They're basically
you're
saying the same
distributing.
thing, except for that has the suspension and expulsion.
I always thought the difference was like you're either using, possessing, or distributing, and distributing was like, that was the worst.
Well, that
No,
also
we
might
do
be
'em
out in that
differently.
law, The suspension or expulsion thing.
We,
Oh,
we count
don't
those
do
as separate
cross-references.
violations. So like
What's the separate violation?
possession, use, and then distribution.
Yeah, no, those three I understand, but I never thought there was a delineation between sharing and selling. I always just put it under, I always just figured it was distribution.
That's what we put it under. I just don't know if that's clear for like what we. So that was my point.
Yeah, so the way that in 15,843, which was pupil disciplinary proceedings, it says except in, as provided in subsection L of this section, a school district may suspend or expel a student who is enrolled in a kindergarten, first, second, third, or fourth grade program only if all of the following applies. The pupil is 7 years of age or older and engaged in, and then subsection B is involves the possession, use, or sale of dangerous drugs. So technically, they don't have transfer in there, which is sharing.
Well, but when we're transferring.
Correct. But yeah,
What kindergartner is 7 years old?
I don't, all I know is this,
Kindergartners possessing and distributing drugs, James.
okay, this is
That's the
a,
bigger question.
this is a.
It is probably now though with the vapes. It's like they just bring what they have at home.
Brave new world.
Yeah.
and then there's other things like failing to remove and create a safety threat before suspending. So, and I also think the language is a little bit weird there where it says shall be subject to. I get subject means, but we should say may be suspended or expelled.
Yeah.
Because subject shall be subject to. Right, because the law says that that isn't requiring you to suspend it.
But it's an option.
Okay, so let's see, is there a way we could just combine this? We should just use the language possess, use, or sell.
Yep.
Possession, use, or sale. Right? Here. Because right up here it says, it shall be the responsibility to suspected instances of the possession, use, possession, or sale of drugs. But then they changed to distribution or sale of drugs. Okay, so let's just turn it to sale of drugs. When it is reasonably certain that a student is involved in. I don't know that we need the, because then they have possession of drugs right
It's
here,
separated into.
under the influence of drugs. But yeah, it just says sale of drugs, so I don't know why we use the word distribution on from that. So let's do when it is reasonable. Yeah, that's. Sale, possession.
I know this is not what they said, but. If you're reading this and you think it's sell, and they didn't transfer money, but they did share it, that's still falling under sale. Because if that's.
Technically, under 15,843, I don't think it would fall under sale because transferring isn't on there, so I think they would just fall under possession. Because specifically, if you go to 1334, like, let's say we go to one of these, that's like, oh, look at, they have a typo in the statute, interesting, sorry. If you go to 13, like 3401, for example, the sale as defined is an exchange for anything of value or advantage, present or prospective. So you don't actually have to exchange money, it could just be anything of value. Sure, but if you look at the actual, transfer means to furnish, deliver, or give away. So you're not necessarily getting anything of value or benefit.
Okay,
So that's sharing. But when you look at, like, if you look at possession of whatever for sale, so ARS 13-34.
Cause I think that we should. Well, okay, let me tell you, here's what I'm trying to protect in terms of my arsenal of punishments. Is when a kid is smoking in the bathroom on their own, they get use of possession. If they share it with their friend, they get an additional consequence that their classmate or friend or whomever doesn't get. So I do want to be able, I like in practice having like that additional like, added component of punishment, especially if like, the parents are really upset, like, keep passing on photos. Like, well, they do get a different consequence as a result of their behavior.
Sure.
So what I don't want to do is lose the additional violation for the sharing. I don't know if that means we need to add a sale or just put sale or transference.
I would just say it makes it so that we're actually being more strict than the law requires. Which I don't know was the intention of the committee, would be to be more strict than the law requires, but because they are defined differently, you know what I mean? And it's also, so for example, there's different subsections, you can possess or use, possess equipment, manufacture, administer, obtain, procure. And then number 7 is transport for sale, import into the state, offer to transport, sale, or import in the state, comma, sell, comma, transfer or offer to sell or transfer in a product. I know this is crazy wording, but that's where sell and transfer get like intertwined when things are charged under that like A7 subsection of these statutes. But when you look at 15.843, which is pupil disciplinary proceedings definition, it just says use, possession, or sale, and not transfer. So, but what is the difference right now between the two punishments, I guess is my question.
Well, it's like all kind of a window of like, things. So typically though, like, I'm spitballing, but like it would often be like an additional day. So like, let's say if we suspend for like use, everybody was like using together. All 3 of us would get 1 day, but you would get 2 because you brought it and shared it.
Well, I don't know how you could still do that because this isn't telling you how to determine how to suspend or expel.
Yeah, so we would just end up.
Because that punishment is available for every single one of these.
The change of practice would just be, we wouldn't put this violation for distribution anymore. They would just take an additional
You
day.
could just put a note as to why they're getting the additional day, you know? But I also wonder if there's some way, yeah, sorry, and then moving on, is there some way to just combine these 2 paragraphs under sale? Because it seems redundant.
I see the redundancy, but I also feel like there's like some clarity to it in the sense that it's like, if I'm just starting out as an AP, I see like part 1, I gotta cover like what I do as a principal person, and then I also have to answer to whether or not I'm parents. And like I think of it as like, one is here's my in-house punishment, and here's my out-of-house. So even though it's basically saying that both are options.
I guess I'm confused by, if I read this, I would think, do I have to call law enforcement twice?
Well, I thought, I don't know, I'm seeing like, once the 1, I'm just reasonably certain, but then the 2, I'm
Oh,
like, I've
determined. That's
determined
where the
that it's
difference is.
true,
Thank
and
you.
now I'm gonna suspend.
Oh, okay, so reasonably certain. But wait,
I think it is weird because if I'm reasonably certain before I would reach out to
I've
law
already called the
enforcement,
police.
I
I
would
might,
consider
it's,
doing it. I'm reasonably certain I'm gonna give you a suspension, but I'm not gonna call the police.
yeah, yeah.
And
Right.
It's determined.
Now
give you a
I'm gonna
suspension
move
and
forward with the
I
law.
need to call
Yeah.
the police.
Yeah,
So that part is.
and you don't have to call their parents when it's determined, but you can suspend or expel them and call the police.
The parents will figure it out when they're not going to school.
We're all using
We have
Genius.
so many viewers.
They hang on our every word.
I feel like we can jump this portion, that first one. Like, if it's reasonably certain that suspension, I don't think we should expel.
'Cause you're not-
Yeah.
Right.
They were coming from Finland and they were down in Finland.
Maybe at that most craft.
They still do the bus like rodeo things or whatever that was, the safety things.
You know, I don't know if they do. or not. Should ask about that.
Those were like.
I know the trust it used to be the trust that ran it.
Oh, really?
And it was sponsored by like Auto Safety House and some of these different groups.
Interesting.
And at one time, I know,
Because I felt like when I was in school, we did it every year. They would
Yeah.
come and park the bus on the field.
Yep,
We would
yep.
all practice jumping out the back of it.
oh, that one. Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
that's
what I
different
meant.
than what I'm
Yeah.
thinking of. That is a good question. I know we do it. I'm not sure when and
Interesting.
how. Yeah.
But I always wanted to be the person that got to be the people that helped everybody out of the bus.
Oh, yeah.
Never got to do that.
We do it twice a year.
Yeah, see, there's your answer twice a year.
Nice.
People have the discipline matrix that you guys have for the things. I just want to make sure that we start at a suspension for drugs. Because if we don't, then I have to just put May or maybe subject.
Well, you should put may because that's what the law says. Because it's actually not required that we suspend or expel them.
All right, I think I fixed these to be. on this side. Okay, I'll put that on.
Yeah, 6:11.
Just short terms.
So like with those matrix or matrices or whatever, are you guys like, for example, it says that all of these things have to apply or whatever, is that like contemplated in those matrices? Okay.
It's supposed to be. I think they did a pretty good job.
I thought I was under, 15,843. Oh, here it is. Like basically, where not only do they have to commit the offense, but you have to say that they, hold on, where the heck is this? This is driving me crazy. All of these have to apply or whatever, so.
everything fills up. I just made a copy of our old community council presentations. I thought we could use it as a starting point. And I just moved it into like this working groups folder, but it's still showing Nicole's personal email, like she has access to it as a viewer. Can you do that for me? Thank you.
Like, for example, this, before suspending or expelling the pupil, the school district considers and if feasible, while maintaining the health and safety of others in consultation with the parent or guardian extent possible, in place alternative behavioral disciplinary interventions that are available to the school district or charter school that are appropriate to the circumstances are not considered and are considered of health and safety. Because that, if you go up here, you know, it says, if you're suspending someone who's, you know, over this age or whatever for any one of these things, then all of these things have to apply, right?
Yeah, we typically, like, part of that matrix is the alternate
Mhm.
consequences, like, the restorative practices and there's always a restorative element, even if the suspension takes place. So I think we're compliant. I feel like we're compliant with it based on what it says.
Failure to, okay, so this is the one that I was interested in. Failure to remove the pupil from the building would create a safety threat that cannot otherwise reasonably be addressed or qualifies as an aggravating circumstance.
So is it saying then you wouldn't have to do those things?
I'm very, that way that's worded is weird, or qualifies as an aggravating circumstances, as specified in paragraph 2. Anyway, sorry, I'm just talking to him.
No, no, I was like, I kind of not about. Go into the main folder and pull up I put school year 24-25. This is the presentation, so I figured run both through it. Well, James run through Lisa Evans, so you'll know. We really just, I feel like we can keep all of these. I'm just making stuff up actually. I'm guessing we can start with this, so maybe slide by
Here's my
slide, we can
question.
push this.
Is there a different matrix for people who are
Slide to-
4th grade and under versus 5th through 8th? Because that's what it seems like the law should requires.
No.
And it seems like the law.
But we
does
take it in,
require
but
that.
it is taken into consideration.
Okay.
4th through 8th. Well,
Oh,
that's
5th
sort of-
through 8th.
It's K-8.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But the APs, there's a certain, once you hit a certain bar, like suspension and stuff, they fall back to the like K3 is different.
It's
than
K4.
K, but
Yeah,
that,
yeah.
so that's what they do. So the matrix is a K8, but
Uh-huh.
it denotes like when you have to, like, when you can't use certain things for different ages.
Yeah. I was just saying the statute is that goes through 4th grade with regard to the
They,
suspension. stuff.
yeah, it's 4th grade or there's like an age.
7.
Yeah, 7.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think keep the committee member one. Will you just in the notes, just erase the like who's speaking and all of that update? Purpose of the. Oh, sure. That's the same. And we had a timeline. And then we literally just did like, here's the policy thing that we did, and then 2 or 3 bullets about like how that was changed. So like if you're looking at like, you're on slide 6, so rights and responsibilities, these are the 2 big things that we like changed or wanted to share with the community council. And we just went through all of the policies. Like 1 slide per policy change of what the next steps were and our recommendations. I feel like this was fine. And if we want to do like the exact same thing, which is the correct slides. What do you all think?
I think I watched people check out when we got into specifics last, because I think it's hard in that environment for people to absorb things. So I think less is more, and then directing them to like a place where they can review and submit comments and when those comments need to be submitted by.
So then what do you want to do instead of doing like each individual one? We just like make these slides like thematic changes and then
Yeah.
which policies were like impacted by that.
Yep, and then where to go take a look at the basic one.
Hilda, did you take care of the, community feedback form? I don't remember doing it. Or, oh, actually, there wasn't a survey. It
Okay.
was literally just if you wanted to give comments to this committee.
Yeah.
We looked at something. Yeah, that's the way I did it.
I just takes you to the policy. Oh, so then your options were email, build it, or share in person.
Do you want to do that same thing?
I think that, I mean, it seemed to work fine last.
Somebody,
It's weird.
somebody put the document in the trash? Who was it?
It's fun, it's good enough.
Wasn't
Did
me.
you get it a little? Me. I took it out of the
Instead of like, maybe I'm looking at.
Undo.
That's funny.
So if you look at slide 6, everybody, then I feel like this is what we would need, this would be at the work for next week, is just, this is the slide. And then. The thematic change, so, I think that there is a lot of like reporting, when to report to police versus not, what goes on. And then we just put the bullet purpose, like in JICH, and this, we changed. We lower the threshold for when to inform the police, so that it meets the minimum requirements of whoever, as opposed to. Whole hog.
Yeah.
Okay. Is that it for everybody? So we can finish with JICHR.
No.
So then just finish the JICG, JICHR, and the student suspension or expulsion. Here, here's a word for word from the previous one. Does that work?
JICG, what else?
JICG, JICHR, and then JKD and JKE.
Remind me again, when is the community council? Okay.
So then I think for the next meeting, we just should probably do the presentation first. So we're just like, everybody knows and we're feeling good about it, and then we can finish up with the rest of the stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
What our recommendations are gonna be, then do that, just the first few slides, and of course, we're going to tell the board. The board is May,
There's May 6th and then May 20th. I believe.
we're thinking the May 6th one, or did you?
You really could go with either.
Okay.
It requires two read, I mean, they can suspend it, but typically it requires two readings. So if we went May 20th, it could be in consent for the first June meeting, which gives plenty of time for us to disseminate the information out for start of school for next year. I mean, the reality is by the time we're done with our work, this is really for implementation for the 26 school year anyway. So as long as we can get everything through board approval. Worst case scenario before June is out, but ideally early June would be better than late June, so we make sure we have some time to, especially with we're gonna have some significant personnel changes this summer. So
Yeah, okay, all right, that sounds good, and back in, that we will have those like at least 3 big ones ready
nice.
to get. After
Thank you.
Stacy. Madeline. Right, you wanna help me?
Is there anything else that we need to cover before we adjourn? Okay. I motion to adjourn. Can I get a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.